right, we got quite a few more questions, so let's go through them. Jenny, what kind of database issues usually come up with the bidirectional Arabic localization?
Ooh, that's a good one. Hey, Carrie, you on? I'm going to let you take that because you can do that more completely than me.
That's an interesting question. Well, data, even though bidirectional data tends to be displayed right to left, also bidirectionally, it gets stored in byte form in the same logical order, regardless of how it's displayed. So, as far as storage is concerned, there aren't a lot of problems there that I'm aware of, as long as you're using an encoding that will support those bidirectional languages. As in most cases, we recommend using Unicode, but you can also use an encoding specific to Arabic or Hebrew if that's better suits your needs. But we would have to take it would be a case where we would take a close look at what kinds of actions are being performed on strings on the database level to really determine whether there were any potential issues. A lot of times with stored procedures, there's some sort of concatenation going on or other string manipulation, which could potentially really be disruptive of strings that are not English if you're making assumptions that they are strings. So that would be the easiest answer I could give right now.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Carrie. Next question is from Heidi. Can you provide additional details as to why the Agile methodology is ill-suited to run on internationalization projects?
I'm going to defer to you on Carrie again. Mostly it's generally that the testing cycles don't line up. It's probably, you could probably do it, but it would be fairly, in our experience, it's just been faster for us to do it the way we've been doing it, with sort of like a little bit of methodology thinking in terms of practices that we borrow from Agile, but the actual sort of short scrum not necessarily working out, mostly because you tend to break everything in lots of big, broad brushes, especially when you're like adding a locale framework or changing the database or the like. Carrie, you got anything to add on that?
Let me make sure I understood the question. Could you repeat it again really quick?
Sorry, let me go back to that.
So it's sort of like why aren't we using Agile for why is Waterfall working better for us than Agile for?
Well, yeah, not really too much to add on that. Testing really depends on a lot of factors. Time being one factor. Also, whatever the client tends to use for testing is we tend to adopt their approach a lot. So it will also depend on the client's project. Yeah, that's about all I can really say there.
All right.
Hey, Carrie, I can hear Laurie in the background there.
Okay.
Then let me see a question from Ava. Will you ever make a presentation on localization for large corporate websites? And Ava, I have a recording for you. We did a webinar on website localization. Feel free to send me an email, marketing@translate.com, and I send you the link to the recording. And we might do another one probably early 2009. But definitely send me a quick email, and I'll be happy to send you the link to that recording. And let me see.
I'm also just going to add that rarely the line between website and application are really quite blurred at this point. I don't think we've worked on an application in the last several years that wasn't essentially a website, that didn't have like a browser interface or an internet-based component where maybe there was a specific client on a local machine, but it was communicating with a server somewhere.
And Jenny had a quick comment, I guess, to the previous question. Is that UTF-8 or UTF-16? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. The answer is it depends. There are some real advantages to UTF-8, particularly with web pages and the like, if you've got a lot of single byte content. And then internally, Java will process data as UTF-16. Carrie, you want to add anything to that?
Is this the question that Jenny asked about UTF-16 versus UTF-8?
You know, it's actually regarding Arabic Unicode.
Oh, okay.
Right. Sorry, and I'm sorry if you can hear my colleague. But UTF-16 versus UTF-8 in the database depends on the database platform and also the data types that are being used in the database. UTF-16 is typically used with what we call N types, which are the varchar and nvarchar, varchar and char types that with an N at the beginning of the name of the type. So you've got nvarchar and nchar. Those are typically UTF-16 encoding types. And then UTF-8 is used for, or is most often used with the regular types, the varchar and the char. And those, so for example, in Oracle, if you wanted to have a UTF-8 database, you would define the database as UTF-8 and use those regular types. And then if you wanted to use UTF-16, you would define the N types. So, that's kind of a quick answer. Really, it comes down to what is already being done and what makes the most sense to do. And that's what we would have to evaluate that.
Great. Maybe one more question. We still have about 50 people online. So what are the most common internationalization issues that are identified through code scan?
Sure, I can rattle those off. Through Globalizer, it'll identify, embedded strings to start with. It'll also identify issues, like locale limiting functions, methods, or classes. Those are the two top areas. Those classes might, deprecate a wide character or something like that. Just blow it up. Or in some cases, there's, say, a calendar class that just needs to be looked at to make sure that it's been implemented properly. So sometimes, though there's nothing wrong with a function, it depends on how it's used. So it'll point those functions, methods, or classes out. One more thing that will also be searched for are program patterns. It's kind of like a term that we use for kind of like a wild card. You can use regular expressions to define anything in particular you want to look for. So, say a conditional statement that you don't like in this case, or something unique to your application that you think might get in the way of internationalization. And we use a lot of those.
All right, excellent. Okay, and also I'd like to mention we did a web seminar, a 2-hour, online class back in, was that in August, Adam and Terry?
I think it was actually June. Time flies.
June, yeah. And it's now up for, you can purchase the recording for $99. It's up on our resources section on translate.com. And we're thinking about doing a part 2 potentially at the beginning of this year. So look forward to that, and definitely check the first recording out or description if you're interested. And then, I don't know, Adam, any more comments? Anything else you'd like to...
I'll just mention that webinar was a lot more technically focused than this one, which was sort of like dealing with management issues, which often is how do you get things done, how do you get other people to do things. So the other webinar was much more technically focused. Carrie led it. As you can hear, he's smarter than me. And then probably the next one might have a technical focus as well. We'll probably talk to some of you out there and see what you're looking for.
Okay.
But I want to thank everybody.
Contact Adam with any I18n questions, and of course Eric with any localization questions. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to thank you for attending this webinar, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks to all the panelists, and have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks,
Appreciate it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.